I am live and recording. We made it. Wow. This is great. Let's see. What time is it? Are we close? Did I make it close? 12:02. That's pretty decent, I think. Let's see. How many people do we have in the event right now? Looks like 8. Yeah. Thank you. Dave, by ADHD standards, I feel like I'm actually kind of running early. All right, let's see. I'm just getting a couple of things opened up. Some surprises for later on. All right, I've got the slideshow is ready. That is good. All right, cool. Sheila's here. What's up, Sheila? I'm gonna see. Let's see if I can play some music during this roundtable special networking music intro. Let me see if I can do this. Dance party. Can you guys hear this right now? Okay, thank you, Catton. Catton! What's up, Catton? Gotta loosen up a little bit. Because let's be honest, most people are not going to be here yet. Kelly's here. Avery's here. Melissa's here. Oh. Okay. Hold on. Hopefully you guys are you guys still there? Ah! I'm trying to join back in. Okay, I think I'm back. Right, good. What a nice intro. Looks like we got about 10 people here. We had 50 registered for the event. I think I'm going to try out one of the other musical intros just to give everybody a few minutes. And Kat and I knew you probably couldn't hear me over the musical intro. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody could hear the music. So let's try one more. They have a couple varieties here. I mean, let's be honest. We all enjoy some variety when we have ADHD, right? Okay. Musical intro. Let's go with some inspiring acoustic. And I just saw something in my office that I want to grab as a prop for later. One second. Here we go. All right, everybody. Let's get this party started. There's 13 of us here. It's enough to get going, right? I'm really looking forward to today's event. It's going to be really incredible. Let me get back up to the top. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see if I'm able to do both. I don't think so. But can everybody see that? Can you see the Ryan Mayer Coaching logo? Let me know if you can see that. Okay. All right. Beautiful. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to separate the tabs real quick. My IT guy, Tim, is tuning in remotely. He's probably looking at this, like rolling his eyes like, Ryan, I told you, I told you to set this up ahead of time, but of course I have ADHD, so I didn't do that, but that's okay. All right. I think I've got it. I just want to be able to see everybody's comments as well as click through the slides. So here we go. All right. I got it set up so I can go now. Sweet. There we go. Welcome everybody to the monthly webinar series, November 2021. First off, congratulations. Why would I say congratulations? Because first of all, out of all 50 people who registered, you're here. And out of the millions of people who struggle with managing money, you've chosen to be here to take action towards your goals and towards your future self, towards a better financial future. You invested money, you're investing time, and I'm going to make sure that it's a good return on investment. Want to introduce myself and give you all a chance to introduce yourselves as well. I'm ADHD Coach Ryan. Nice to meet you. I think we're going to have people tuning in from literally all over the world today. And I would love to know, what was it that got you interested in attending today's event? All right, I'm bringing this up here. Why are we here? Okay, so Catton says, I am perpetually broke. How about everybody else? Allie, Janae. All right, Melissa says impulse shopping. We're going to be talking all about impulse purchases today, so that's right on. How about everybody else? What got you inspired to be at the event today? Paying off debt. Not a big spender, but I don't do enough of my money because I don't care about the details. Ooh, yep, Kelly, that's spot on. Goal of working off credit card debt. Perfect, Allie. You're in the right place. Surviving off of savings, Janae says. So that's something I think a lot of us have experienced. Okay, Pam says in debt, but keep running up credit cards. Yep, exactly. Well, I'll tell you why I am here. I am here because I have made it to the other side, where I've been able to overcome being in debt. And it's been a really hard journey. And My ADHD has derailed me so many times. And a lot of frustration, but I've been able to figure out a way to get through the challenges with money management. And I just decided that there so many of the clients that I talk with, because I'm a full-time ADHD coach, so many of my clients struggle with this that it was worth doing an entire webinar for this, because I just wish I would have known the things I do now 10 or 15 years ago. Because for some reason, in most educational systems, this isn't really taught, which is just mind-boggling, right? So even though I am not a financial expert, a financial guru, I've at least figured out a way to make this work for my ADHD, and I think I have some ideas of how it can work for yours as well. So that is why I am here. I know the pain. I know the frustration. I know what it's like to be in debt and to assume this is how life's always going to be. I'm just going to be paycheck to paycheck for the rest of my life. But what if it didn't have to be that way? That's an interesting question we're going to think about today. In the meantime, I have this super official microphone stand. It happens to just be a box of cards. But I want to get this up so you can really hear me. There we go. For anybody who's just joining, would love to have you put in the chat where you are logging in from. We got people from Virginia. We have people from Canada, people from Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. Not Louisville, but Louisville. Okay. The other reason why a lot of us are here is because we're tired of living out the definition of insanity, which, as many of you probably know, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's how it was for me until I made some changes. So I'm wondering, can any of you relate to this feeling? I'm really proud to show this slide because this is a good example of how someone who is feeling trapped can utilize strategies that are ADHD friendly to kind of free themselves. So down in the bottom, you see David's handle for Instagram. David is one of my clients, and I'm using this with his permission. Speaking of finances, there's this whole developing industry or focus area of NFTs and like art connected with that. So David is interested in that field, but he does some of it through graphic design. And he created this. He was talking the other day during one of our calls about taking massive, imperfect action. And I thought that that was a perfect theme for today's meeting, for the whole webinar itself, because I don't know if any of you saw, thanks to my friend and marketing specialist, Kelly, you've been seeing a lot more of me on social media, but a post that I did all on my own last night, I was talking about fighting off the negative self-talk, and I called it the Imposter Monster, which I thought that was kind of clever, has a nice ring to it. I mean, we're all used to facing up to those negative voices in our own heads, telling us we can't do this thing that we want to do. And so I decided I'm going to take the inspiration that I got from David, and I'm going to take massive action, even if it is not perfect. So I just love this I guess you would call it the piece, of art that he did here, because it just demonstrates exactly that. Like you can see it's purposely flawed, the word imperfection. And I just want to encourage all of us that have ADHD on this meeting that most times it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. Like as long as we're making progress and improving from where we were, that's really what we're going for. Has anybody ever heard of this radio station? By the way, I'm going to make this it's going to be very interactive. Okay, Janae hasn't heard of it. Pam has not heard of that. Kelly has not heard of it. Anyone heard of WIIFM? Oh, good. This is perfect. Anybody else? I'm surprised because you all tune into this one. Okay, no one's. That's interesting. So what this stands for is what's in it for me. WIIFM. So this was something that I was taught when I was in sales, and it's always stuck with me because the work that I do now, getting to coach, I coach now almost, I think it's over 50 fellow people with ADHD like me. And I'm always trying to think about what benefit are my clients getting out of this, whether it's a one-on-one coaching call, a group coaching call, one of the recent social media posts. Like I'm always trying to add value. And so I want to let you know that this whole presentation is made for you, not for me. And that's why in that social media post I did last night, I kind of had this realization where like I put so much pressure on myself to have things be perfect. And we all do this. And I just had that realization of like, you know what? It's not even about me. You're doing this for the people that are going to be on the call. So I just want to let you know that this whole thing's built with you in mind. It's really not about me. We're just waiting on Google to advance to the next thing here. Another client of mine, who now that I think it's kind of funny, his name's also David. Different David though. He's a expert sales trainer and sales presenter. He couldn't make it today. And he was like so apologetic. I was like, it's fine. But he gave me this great piece of advice, which I'm going to share with all of you. I'll start with a story. This past weekend, so yeah, this is Friday. This past weekend was the 2021 International ADHD Conference. First of all, just a quick side note. Did anyone know that we had a conference? I didn't know till a couple of years ago. Did anyone else know that we had? Okay, Kat knows. Yeah, Pam didn't know. It was where I first found out about ADHD coaching, but what about anybody else? I think I saw it on your TikTok. Okay, cool. Allie, I'll take that. Thank you. I'm glad that I could help. Yeah, surprised. Never been. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, it's open to more than coaches, and a lot of times there will be people there who don't have ADHD, but maybe they are a parent or a spouse or a friend or someone in the support team for somebody with ADHD. And by the way, let's mark our calendars. November 17 through 19 next year. So yes, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, but they are once again planning on at least doing the conference. I was going to say seminar, doing the conference in person in Dallas, Texas. I am planning on going, and I would love to meet some of you in person because almost everybody on the event right now I've probably met you or you've heard me on either a podcast or seen on TikTok. But there's something so special about being in person at a conference where I think many of you get like kind of a preview of this whenever you see one of my videos, or if you're one of my clients, you know that I try to create this environment. In fact, it's one of the foundational pieces for coaching. It's part of my certification, is creating a safe environment for my clients where you all can just be yourselves. Imagine that, but with hundreds, if not thousands of people who all just get it. It's the same feeling that I get every time I log in with one of my group coaching cohorts, which I know many of you are on the call today. It's just so special. So anyways, back to my story. I may sidetrack here and there, believe it or not. But I was virtually at the conference last weekend, and anytime I would log in to a session, I would always be looking for the notes. Like, where are the slides? And people would be blowing up the chat. Like, where are the slides? Where are the slides? And it was so funny. Like, wow, ADHDers, we're all so alike. Oh, Avery, I'm sending you a virtual hug. Yeah. Oh, but yes, finally hug me in person for sure. So everyone was trying to take notes. Here is the favor I would ask. Just try to be as fully present as you can during today's event, because I promise I will send the slides. I'm going to send you all the resources we talk about. I've got a whole slew of links that I'm going to send your way. So I know that I always feel pressure personally when I'm at an event that I'm like, I don't trust my brain. We don't do so well remembering things. So I'm like trying frantically to write this stuff down. So I hope I can maybe remember it, but I'm just telling you, I'm going to send it all to you. So the best present you can give anyone is presence. See what I did there? So if you can just be with me, be where your eyeballs are, I guess. I think that'll help. It'll help you to retain some of the info, hopefully. And I thought that, well, I know for me, and for many of you who are on my team or part of my kind of inner circle, you know that I have been way stressed getting ready for this event, because I want to do well for all of you. I want to do well for the ADHD community and provide value. And just because I'm an ADHD coach or content creator, that doesn't mean that I have it all figured out. And it doesn't mean that my own ADHD does not cripple me sometimes. So I thought that it would be good for us to just actually start off with a breathing exercise. So I call this TUA, Total Unconditional Acceptance. Whoopsie daisy. I was trying to get it off of that thing. Let's go back. Here we go. So let's just do 3. Actually, this is something I learned at the conference. I'm going to show it to you, because it's like, oh man, mindfulness is so hard. How am I ever going to remember to do meditation? Watch this. It is called the Palm Meditation. And here's why. Breathe in. Breathe out. So breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. I promise you that our brains are grateful for that. Now, moving along. By the way, had anyone ever heard of that before? I had never heard of that until last weekend's conference. I love it. Catton says, that's slick. Had anybody else ever heard of that? I had not ever seen that before, but to me, it's like, we're never going to remember, like, they have this thing called box breathing, which, like, I get the idea. You breathe and you try to envision a box or whatever. Nice. Pam says, taking that for later. Keep it in the palm of your hand, Pam. But yeah, I had never seen that before. All right, so here's the agenda. For anyone, there's a few of you on here who I know have been to some of my other webinars. It's so ADHD, my last couple webinars. It's been great. I've been learning. I've been getting better every time. But what I've done with the last couple is I've tried really hard. I've like crammed a bunch of content in, and I've even brought in other presenters. And that has it's made the pace like so fast because I want to get you out of here in 2 hours. Like that's my pledge, is that I'm going to do my very, very best to get us finished in 2 hours. Because I know this is a big investment of time. But before it was like I was trying to go through my stuff and the two other presenters, and it was just a lot. But today it's just me, so we can take it at a little more of a leisurely pace. So introductions, we had people, you all checked in to say where you're from. Oh, by the way, I'm from tropical Cleveland, Ohio, in case you weren't familiar. And here's what we're going to cover: emotions and how they relate to money, story time, group learning, give us a bio and a brain break, maybe do a dance party, we'll do a group activity, talk about next steps towards success, and then I'll share some resources and kind of some takeaways. And then at the end, it's important that you stay because I do have some giveaways that when I made the decision on what to raffle off, it was rather impulsive, but I think you'll enjoy it. So here we go. How to manage successfully despite having ADHD. Defeating ADHD debt. So my wife and I get really into our Halloween costumes. This is one of our props. This sword that I made when I was Disney's Hercules. So since we were going to be talking about defeating ADHD debt, I thought this was kind of cool. I made this myself, legit. And in the movie, Hercules says, "A hero's only as good as his weapon." So I want to equip all of you to do battle and defeat your ADHD debt. Now, I'm sure I brought my drink up here. Hold on. I thought I did. Here it is. Really important to stay hydrated. Okay, here we go. So I want to know, what are you all struggling with? So I know some of you mentioned some of the stuff, but as far as finances, is there anything in addition to what you already mentioned that you are struggling with? Because again, I want to customize this material for you. So I would love to know, like, if there are specific questions you have, if there's things you want to make sure that I cover during this, now is your time. Obviously, I have the agenda. I've got a lot of ideas of what we can cover, but I want to make sure we can hit the stuff. Okay, Kelly, this is good. So Kelly says, how do I care about the details of managing? Melissa says, how to have a positive, constructive conversation with significant others about money. That's a really good one, Pam. Actually sticking to a budget, making a realistic one. Yep. I use the YNAB, which is, in case anyone doesn't know, that stands for you need a budget. Did well with it, but they changed it and I fell off. Catton, I totally feel you on that because that is a thing we struggle with implementing and keeping habits. So that makes sense. I struggle keeping savings account for a big trip, grocery shopping for 1 and 2, and not always doing Instacart and DoorDash. Yep. Catton says he agrees with Allie. Struggle keeping the savings account for a big trip. Never ending, boring. Yep. That's what Kristen says. Oh, I'm sorry, Catton. Sorry, you're a girl. That is totally my bad. I saw the picture and it was a cartoon man, so that was my fault. I should not assume. Don't judge a book by its picture. All right, so here's Coach Ryan. Sometimes when I tell people I'm a coach, they're like, "Oh, what sport?" I'm like, "Well, not exactly." What sport? Life. We're going to talk about the emotion money, why all of us have had struggles or are in debt, the impact of ADHD on that, kind of my journey and how I navigated through it. What you learned today, you're going to get financially fit. Let's get you in shape. We're Olympians. There we go. I totally agree, Catton. And an offer at the end through that raffle. Okay, here we go. Let's talk a little bit about emotion first. Google Slides. Like I even have my my internet. It's not even on Wi-Fi. I'm plugged in. So the emotion of money. I would love to know when you think of emotions and money, what does that bring up for you? For me, I think about up until recently, I had thought about lack. Like I just think about, I don't have enough. Yep. Pam says panic. Kelly says, will I get the muscles by the end? You'll have some financial muscles for sure. Sheila, my blood pressure, don't have enough. Guilt. Yep. Guilt for sure. And why is it? Why do you feel the guilt? And again, like, we have 15 people in here today. So I want to make sure that you're getting some personalized attention. So why do you feel this guilt? Because you feel like it's your fault. You should do fill in the blank. Totally. As Catton was saying, I don't deserve to have this. Stressed about retirement. That's a big concern for so many. I could have made better choices. Wow. These are all really good. As an adult, I should know how to do this by now. Yep. I'm glad that these are some of the concerns because I share those and we're gonna cover a lot of that. And why do I not have more saved up by now? Exactly. Yep. Okay, cool. But money truly does have deeply emotional roots. So again, you'll see throughout this whole thing, I want to make this very interactive. So I want to see what your reactions are to the following photos. Ready? There's 3. So I want to know, this is the first one. What do you think of, or what emotions come up when you see this brand, if any? Will never have yet. Too fancy. Nice. Don't really need or want it anyway. That's a good one. Yeah, and to me, I put this, a lot of this is for me too. I put this in here because I was just noticing even today, I went and worked out in the morning at the rec center, and as I'm walking out, there was a few cars that were nicer brands. There was a Mercedes there, and my thought is always, what does that person do? I wonder, like, what kind of work do they do that they can afford a car? Now, to Kelly's point, she says, don't really need or want it anyway. That's actually my same thought on this because it's like, I'm not a car person. So, like, I couldn't tell you really like the difference between a Mercedes, a BMW, like we drive a Honda Odyssey minivan. Like, I couldn't tell you like I know obviously Mercedes would have like fancier interior, like leather interior and all the gadgets and all the amenities or whatever. But besides that, like when it comes to the mechanics of the car, is it really that much better? I don't really know. Yeah, and Sheila's point about the I'll never be able to have it. Yeah, I would much rather like be able to afford it and then choose not to get it, right? Okay, so that's that one. How about this? What does this one bring up for everybody? Yeah, Damon says, I need it. I'm getting text messages. I'm going to go on to airplane mode so I'm not getting any messages that disturb me. There we go. Um, Paying for the name. That could also be for Mercedes too. Yep, Sheila says, love Apple and Steve Jobs quotes. To me, Apple, like the way that they design their products is very attractive. I think all their products are very attractive. They're pretty easy to use. They're definitely built with the end user in mind. Yeah, so you have to spend more money again for sure. Yep. I would have to agree with Catton that like they work well together, but they can tend to be overpriced. Sure. All right, now here, how about this last one? What does everybody think about this? Walmart. What does that bring up for you? Affordable. Not high quality, but affordable. Damon says he misses the older flip phones. We're really hard not to have an iPhone yet. I can find some pretty decently priced things there. Yep. Yeah, so it's like everyday low prices, I think, is their motto. But to me, it's interesting because you get like to me, there's a certain vibe, right, to each of these. Like Mercedes Benz, I drive a Mercedes. I feel like Apple's kind of like the cool tech person. And then Walmart, I feel like you tend to think of like lower socioeconomic kind of people. And it's just interesting how that's just all it is a symbol. So like, how does it make us think that? Okay. So you'll see where I'm going with this too. Catton was liking, yeah, but weird customers. Yeah, exactly. So why is it so hard for us to manage our money? I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a clue. Mm-hmm. Forget to pay bills, don't return things. It's incredible for how diverse all of us are, how similar our challenges are, right? Because we have ADHD. It's the way our brains are wired. So remember during the breathing exercise at the beginning, I talked about total unconditional acceptance. And that's really what I try to work with all my clients on is the acceptance part of that. Because there's a lot of stuff that like we really want to do. We logically know the benefit of it, but for some reason we can't get ourselves to do it. Just like last night when it's 11:30 at night, I know I have to wake up early. I have this presentation today and I'm just like all I can do is scroll social media. It's the same thing when it comes to money matters. Like we know we should save money for retirement or for emergencies or whatever, but like it's really hard to do. There are some other factors that in doing research to get ready for this that I came across that I thought were really interesting perspectives. So for those of you who aren't familiar with RSD, RSD stands for rejection sensitive dysphoria, and it's known to be potentially the most like deadly is not the right word, but impairing, that's what I was looking for. The most impairing symptom. It's like the most crippling of everything. And a lot of it, because it's so hard to track, there's no cure for it. It's different for everyone, but it's really intense, right? Like it can lead to us having a lack of confidence in doing anything that we are not well versed in, because we are so used to having being told that we're wrong or that we're not doing it right. Which then, why it matters when it comes to money is that it leads to literally less earning potential. Empathy, giving too much of ourselves and others. There's somebody I can think of, a relative that is so generous. Even though the person is not in the best financial situation, they're always giving of themselves to others. And I think I've talked with many of you, if not all of you, about the whole oxygen mask idea of taking care of our own needs first before we try to take care of others. But this can hurt us financially too. Spending money for vanity to look the part. So going back to the Mercedes example, there are times where I will pull up at a traffic light and someone pulls up next to me in, let's just call it a Mercedes or a very expensive luxury vehicle. I'm driving my 2011 Subaru hatchback. It's a fine car. No problem with it. But there's definitely part of me that's like, oh man, like look how nice that thing looks. But I don't even know the story behind the person driving. Maybe they're leasing the car and they're doing this totally just for looks, and maybe their financial situation is horrible. Oh yeah, people are just. I'm loving the comments, by the way. So most of us, let me see if all of you can relate to this, have spent money that we didn't have to impress people we don't actually care about on things we don't need. Oh, I think I got those out of order, but you get the idea. On things we don't need to impress people we don't actually care about. And we just fall into that so many times. All right, so we talked about this earlier. So I forget who said it, but somebody said impulse. I think it might have been Pam. So I got connected with a fellow ADDer. She actually lives in Japan, and she is an illustrator. And I said, would you be willing to create a cartoon for me for this upcoming webinar? And she said, yeah. So I was telling her about the struggles we have, and she can relate, of impulse purchases. And I'm wondering if all of you can relate to this. So this was based on a story about me where Andrea, who is my wife, for those of you who don't know, asked me to pick up one thing from the grocery store, but yet that little sneaky ADHD in the form of an impulse purchase was just waiting to pounce, and I wasn't paying attention. and I was curious again. Yeah, exactly. $80 bottle of milk, right? You go in to get the milk. It's like, how did I spend $80? So speaking of, I thought that this would be kind of fun. I want to know, what is your funniest or worst impulse purchase? While I was scrolling on TikTok last night, I saw somebody said, I went in for an oil change and I came out with a new Jeep. And then the video is actually a fellow content creator. He goes by Full Stripe is his username, but he talked about having to have the newest Apple device. He goes and he buys that. And then on his way through the mall, there's one of those like designer sunglass booths, and he ends up spending $300 on a pair of sunglasses he didn't necessarily need. But I'm curious, what examples do you have of something that's an impulse purchase? Maybe it's not funny, maybe it's not the worst, but maybe just something that everybody else could relate to that was an impulse purchase. Oh, yeah, treats at the store. Oh, early Black Friday deals on Amazon. A cat. Gummy bears. I know Damon's got a little bit of a sweet tooth for that. Brand new car that I in no way needed. Yep. My favorite cosmetics store. Mm-hmm. Another cat. Yeah. Oh, and a timeshare in Vegas. Yep. That's a classic. Lots of clothes. Clothes that I try on and I won't return. I wish that this was staged, but I did a TikTok about these, but these are totally real. This happened just last weekend. Andrea asked me to go get a couple of things she needed for a recipe. We were doing some kind of chili, and then she needed some parsley. So I went in to the store. This is a grocery store, and I end up coming out with a leg pillow. I'm a side sleeper. This is as seen. Most of these are as seen on TV. I don't know why, but I'm drawn to that section. So a leg pillow, these things called Nook hooks, which are supposed to be able to save space in cabinets. I came home, they do not fit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to return this. This I'm actually excited to use, the skid reducing, because we put these felt bottoms on our chairs, but they keep coming off. And then, did you know they have dry erase crayons? I thought that was so cool. So I'm like, I got to see if this actually works. So I bought these. Okay, thank you. Allie said she would have gotten the Nook hooks too. So this comes down to making the money decisions based on emotion instead of logic, not thinking of the long-term consequences. I absolutely did not think about, well, what if the Nook hooks don't work? Or maybe I should check to see, I on the box, it has these coffee mugs. I'm like, we have way too many coffee mugs. This would be perfect. It'll make a little bit of room. Well, it didn't fit. It was just a total cluster. And I didn't think about it. But then it gets into things like forgetting to pay the bills. And I know somebody mentioned that earlier, I think. Forgetting to pay the bills, but we had the money to pay it. We just legit forgot. So these are other things. We end up having to pay for unforeseen emergencies. The reason that happens, we tend to be a little bit more reckless, not only in our financial decision making, but just in general. I mean, I don't know about anybody else. I tend to have a fairly heavy foot while driving. And when we're running late all the time, we're speeding, not maybe sometimes even because we want to, but because we feel we have to, and we're embarrassed and shameful that we're running late again. Unemployment. A lot of clients I talk to, and I personally have gone through a lot of job transition. And so because of that, we have to rely on savings or credit cards. And that's obviously not a good long-term strategy. Bad spending habits. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. So then we max out our credit cards, and that immediately makes me think of someone on TikTok. I was posting a lot of videos about the webinar, and this woman replied and said, all of my credit cards are maxed out and I'm paying the minimum. There's no use on paying them down because I'm just gonna end up maxing them out again anyway. And that comment just made me so sad. I told her, I'm like, I want you to come to this webinar for free. I don't know. I don't think you're here. Maybe you're here because I only know her TikTok name. But that made me sad because I think a lot of this also is a lack of education around how credit cards and other companies will kind of lure us in with things. Because I don't know if everyone knows, like I looked this up, the average interest rate. Actually, I want to see, what do you think the average, and don't Google it, Pam, I feel like you would Google this. What is the average interest rate on a, okay, Sheila says 18, on a credit card? Pam, tell me I'm wrong though. Okay, Kat says 33, 21, 24. What does everybody think? You're not too far off. No one would have won on The Price is Right. It is 16.23. Now that's the average. There might be some higher, obviously some lower. But like I did some quick examples. And if someone were to, for example, buy pizza, let's just say a pizza is like 20 bucks. If we don't pay that back, but then have to pay it back the next month with the interest on just that one item, we'd have to pay $23. The next one, I looked for, because we're thinking about getting a mattress set or a bedroom set soon with like a new mattress and all that. And I was thinking about how like you always see like commercials for mattresses and it's like, you know, all these deals or whatever. And I was just thinking like, all right, how much is it? So I looked it up and it was the average mattress, I think they said, was like around $700. So that 16.23% on top of that is $814. So just think about how much more that is for one item. And if we're maxing out our credit cards or if we're only paying the minimum, take all of that amount you haven't paid and they're stacking that on top of it every month. Now, I'm not trying to make anybody feel worse. I'm just making sure you know what's happening if you're not paying off all your credit cards. My assistant Nancy found that one. I thought that was really funny. Maxed out. So we're buying nice things. We struggle to manage the debt, only paying minimum monthly payments. So then the impact. I don't know if anybody's heard of this term before. Oh man, Apple Card's 22%. Yikes. Okay. ADHD tax, penalties that we have to pay due to shortcomings. And so when a lot of people are saying, like, I can't afford to come to the webinar, and I would sometimes say to them, but I would always think to myself, how much money have you already paid in ADHD tax, that person? Like, I guarantee they're paying way more than $15 in late fees. I myself have paid way more than $15 in late fees. So it's not about the webinar though. It's just in general, like when we don't have enough money available, we're going to run into these things: late fees, emergency funds, forgetting to pay bills. So would love to have you finish this statement. Control what you can. Ooh, Catton, that's a good question. I always get checks from a current credit card to pay off another card for lower. Oh, wow. Okay. I see that. These are good guesses. Here is the answer, though. And I guess I should have zoomed in a little more, but control what you can control. I know a lot of times for us with ADHD, it seems so overwhelming, right? But right in the middle of that, that's kind of us. We're in the middle there. We can control only so much. There's stuff we're interested in and maybe we can influence it. And this book that I read, it was talking about the chaos is outside of that. So we get wrapped up, I think, sometimes in the larger picture of like, oh, but it's so much to try to think about. It's too overwhelming. But to your point, what Allie was saying there, what we can spend, control what you spend. My mom was wishing me good luck this morning, and she actually came up with this phrase, which I thought was very clever. So I drew this. I minored in art, clearly. No, but it was spend versus saving. For us with ADHD tips the scale a little bit. And you can't really see because it's too small, but it says dopamine in the little bowl. And then on the right side, it said the best intentions, and the saving is like light as a cloud. It's just a dream. Whereas spending, it's like, it's right now. As somebody mentioned earlier, it's right in front of you. Yeah, exactly. Pam is saying nothing like that dopamine hit from the Amazon box on the porch. And to that end, I heard about this during the ADHD conference. I thought it was really interesting. I thought dopamine happened at that point of the thing that you enjoy, but Pam is actually right on point with this, that it's actually the anticipation. So when you see the box, that's when you're getting the dopamine. It's not even necessarily the opening of it. It's anticipation. So this was something that I came across in reading materials to get ready for this. I thought was so spot on. Need versus want. A lot of times we get things that we want even if we don't need them. And I talked about this a little bit, but on impulse, more than we should after a budget, things that we don't really need, with money that we don't have. Credit cards, Amazon, the technology that's out there, it's made it so easy for us to choose to buy something, right? So it's like one click purchase, like, oh geez, like, yeah, I want it, boom, done. And we don't feel the pain. Uh, I was listening to Dave Ramsey, and I'm going to be talking about him in the kind of the second half of this, but he talks about how credit cards, he's very against credit cards, which there's some things I agree with Dave, some things I don't. That's fine. But one really good point he makes is when we're swiping something or if we're using an app to buy it, we don't feel the pain, as he put it, because when you think about it, with money, you hand over money and you feel the pain of like, I'm parting ways with this money that I've worked so hard to earn, right? But when you swipe a credit card, there's not as much of that emotional connection of like, I'm giving away my money. It's just, well, yeah, I want it, swipe the card. So that's why I think so many of us buy the things we don't need with money we don't have because it's easy and we don't see that long-term impact. And obviously, all of these factors of ADHD, procrastination, disorganization, impulsivity, all of these things can play a huge role for us. And unfortunately, with all of these things together, Dr. Russell Barkley says that compared to our normie or neurotypical peers, we actually statistically make less money, which is just sad. We also have bad credit. The risk of getting lights turned off or losing utilities and upsetting those who depend on us. This is so a quick story around this. I talk about that. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I didn't want to face the reality. I was scared. All right, so we're at, you know what? I'm really proud of us. We're right on track. I kind of want to go downstairs and get my my other drink that I had. Does anybody want to take a break? We're right on track. We're halfway through. I feel like when it's a bigger group, I always am just like, yep, let's take a break. But I want to make sure we can all stay focused and everything. If I do okay, cool. Yeah, let's do 5 minutes. I like it. Melissa suggests 5 minutes. We'll do 5 minutes. Cool. I'll set a timer. I think they might have a timer in here. So 5 minutes. So 108. We're coming back. 108. 108. 108. Is there a timer on here? Yes, there is. Cool. Okay, I think you can see that. And in the meantime, inspirational song. Sheila, if you can hear this, I think you'll appreciate this one. not that one. Five minutes. So let me know if you all are back, because I want to make sure everybody's back before I kick it into gear. Sheila's here. Cool. Excellent, excellent, excellent. It's another pet peeve of mine for presenters when they don't give people a chance to go to the bathrooms. Come on. People gotta take a break. Eyeballs, bladders, come on. All right. Sharing screen. So I mentioned earlier Dave Ramsey, and he is someone who totally changed my life financially. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of my journey, but basically, he has a 7-step formula. We're not going to go over all 7 steps, but I thought it would be good to include the ones that I think are most relevant and most easily attainable to at least get you kick-started. So first, let's talk about baby step one. Has anybody heard of Dave Ramsey, by the way? I would just love to know kind of like where people stand on being aware of him. Okay, so yeah, okay, Janae says yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, sweet. Good. Catton, did you change your profile photo? It's kind of funny. He's the best. Okay, Melissa has not. That's okay, Melissa, if you haven't. No big deal. All right, excellent. This is good. It looks overwhelming. Okay, I promise it is not. That is why I wouldn't have even brought it up if it wasn't doable and if I hadn't done it myself. So that's why it's called baby steps, because we're going to make it easy. So baby step one is $1,000 to start an emergency fund. I bought the book and never opened it. Yep, I think probably all of us have things we've purchased. You get the dopamine hit, and then you never do anything with it, right? $1,000 is a lot of money, but it's not as much as you might think. Yeah, there we go. Pam says $1,000 is a baby step. All right, so you'll see. You'll see what I mean here. Because a lot of people would shut down immediately. Like $1,000? Okay, I'm out. That's it. No way. Okay, cool. So this is good. This is exactly the reaction that most people have and that I had when I first learned about this. So I'm really glad that Sheila's chiming in on this. I don't know everybody on here, so I don't know who has kids and who doesn't. But let's do a little emotional exercise. Because remember we talked about money being emotional. Let's just do hypothetical. Isn't it funny? If I would have done this 5 years ago, this would be a very interesting hypothetical. Let's just say hypothetically that there's a global pandemic. It spreads everywhere. And they're working so hard. Yeah, I know. Pam's like, what? Yeah. But they're developing a vaccine. And thanks to the wonders of medical technology, medical advancements, people like Melissa who work in medical research, they're able to develop a vaccine. The only problem is the vaccine is not free. It costs money, to do this research, to do the testing, and there's a limited supply. It turns out that someone really close to you, if you have kids, or in Avery's case, a fur baby, your child, your significant other, your aging parent, your best friend, they got the disease. And in order, you have the ability to get them the vaccine. The problem is it costs $1,000. So all of a sudden, you have to get $1,000 to be able to get this vaccine. I want your honest opinion. How does that $1,000 seem now? Okay, Catton, good point. Because of the supplies being so sparse, you must pay in cash. The world economy has broken. They only accept paper money. I don't know. Just humor me on this one. Okay. All right, people. The credit cards are not allowed. Sorry. That's an important stipulation. Touche. Okay. Catton says she'd be screwed. Okay. Allie, thankfully, is humoring me. The idea here is you do anything. You do anything to save your best friend, your mom, your dog, your child. Thank you, Sheila is going with it. I would find a way to get it. What are some of the things that you would do And I'm serious, and I want everybody to type something in here. So Damon, I don't see you in here. So what would you do to scrounge together this $1,000? Like, it's going to be hard, but like, how are you going to get this $1,000? Get a part-time job, sell things, work for DoorDash. I'd sell stuff, borrow from friends, give plasma, reprioritize budget. Damon says he would rob me. That's good. ADHD creative solution. Okay. Find an extra online part-time job. Okay. What else? I'll give you a hint. Right now, you're working on the top of it. What about the bottom? Like, you're looking to add. Is there anything you could remove? Stop eating DoorDash. Okay. Actually return things. Keep going. Come on, we're creative. Let's get some ideas here. Block Amazon. What? Are you serious? Sell old clothes. Okay. Unsave my cards from Amazon. Pam's really talking crazy now. For my browser. Yeah. Yeah. Get rid of some apps you pay for. You guys are really onto something here. Because remember, a life hangs in the balance. Cash checks you forgot to deposit. Stop paying for friends' dinner. Sell my car. It's so weird you say that, Melissa, because one of Dave Ramsey's top pieces of advice is sell the car. Sell the car and get a used car to you can make space right there. So if somebody has a monthly car payment, you can literally sell that back, take the money you get from it, buy a used car that's not as nice just for a little while, and use the extra money to pay towards debts. Yeah, it's a lot of ADHD unfriendly stuff. Okay, so Melissa's so close to paying yours off. Well, I mean, that's fine. Just tell your grandma that you're sorry that you can't do it. You're close to paying off your car. So obviously I'm making this overly dramatic. But here's the point. Our ADHD brains, my switch in my brain didn't turn on to do this presentation until yesterday and then this morning to finish it. And of course, I was working on it till 15 minutes before this. Because that's it, unless there is a consequence, we will not take action. That's just what it comes down to. So Dave Ramsey has a concept that he refers to as gazelle intensity. And what that means is they show a clip from the Discovery Channel. They say the cheetah is the fastest mammal, can run up 80 miles an hour. And the gazelles see the cheetah and they start running for their lives. Because if they don't, they're going to be eaten and they will be dead. He said the intensity that the gazelles run with, that's the intensity that we need to attack our debt. And it was interesting how when all of you were sort of put in an altered emotional state, that you were able to come up with all those ideas that you said you would have no idea what to do or where to start. But yet, when it came to life or death of saving your son, saving your mom, saving your husband, you were able to think of ideas. Okay, we're going to move along from that. We hear enough about don't do, but to get back to this, if you can just pull yourself up to get to that $1,000 emergency fund, it changes the way that we look at everything. For example, Andrea and I, we had a car. It was my first car out of college, a 2007 Saturn Aura. And I put that thing through the ringer. And it was very tempting to trade it in to get a newer, nicer car. This thing was like leaking oil. It was leaking coolant. It was like it needed a new muffler. But yet it was totally paid off. We paid nothing except for gas and like a little bit of insurance. So we saved all that money from car payments. So it's like that was uncomfortable in a way, but we knew it was going towards our financial goals. And so like we get emotional about this. We have gazelle intensity about everything that we do. And I wonder if we can all bring some of that in. All right, so I'm gonna bring some of these things up here. Because like, hold on. There are, all right, I'm gonna go back. It's not the stuff I want to talk about yet. We allow our emotions to make our decisions. And there's actually a slide in here. I want to get to it. Need versus want. This is just my story. Okay, here we go. Yep, we'll talk about that. So again, you'll get these slides, so you'll have all of those different things, but I want to leave some time for questions. Getting into an emotional state where like there is no option, like subscriptions. All right, hold on. Dang it. Where is the need versus want? Okay, it's in here somewhere. But anyways, we'll get back to that. So for a budget, which we're going to talk about, and I know that that's like we're all allergic to the word budget. Yeah, ugh. But deciding, again, like getting back to baby step one, saving $1,000, the way that we do that is like, all right, if we don't like paying interest on credit cards and we don't like always being in debt, we need to take the time to look around and see what we don't need and sell it. Sell things on eBay. Sell them in a consignment store. I know it takes, action and follow through to get that stuff done. But then also a like really fast way to do it is just to tighten things up every single month. So one of the things, spoiler alert, that you're going to get from me coming out of this is a sheet that I call needs versus wants. So many of you know, just trying to get in the middle of the screen. There we go. That my wife Andrea and I have a son and a daughter. Our son's 4, our daughter's 2. So we're still changing our daughter's diapers. When it's really cute now because she kind of like knows when she goes to the bathroom, so she'll say poop. So she lets us know that she has gone to the bathroom, but when she was younger, didn't know how to say that, she would just cry like all babies do. The hard part about adulting, like she doesn't have a choice. She doesn't know how to change her own diaper. We have the choice. So even though it's hard, we do have the choice to say no to purchases. We do have the choice to decide and take a hard look at things and say, is that a need or a want? So for example, there's some clients I've worked with on this, and we would go through their expenses and say like, okay, now is that a need or a want? And we're talking like Spotify premium or YouTube premium or Pandora premium or Netflix, Disney Plus. It's nothing against any of those companies, but I mean, again, if your family member's life was on the line, would you cancel Netflix? I think you probably would. You probably have some DVDs laying around somewhere. And I know, thank you for adjusting the camera. Kat, and you totally could have said that earlier. Yeah, Yeah, why didn't I do that? That was that was weird. I don't know why I didn't. Anyway, just getting it so that we're like, all right, if we want to make change, let's make the change. And I was thinking about it, and budgeting can be so overwhelming, but I broke it down to this, and let me know if like this makes sense. But basically, it's like, how much money do you make? So if it's just you, let's just say it's just you, just for simplicity, not significant other. So it's like I get paid, and let's just call it once a month because I had somebody tell me yesterday, once a month. So I get paid once a month. We figure out what the expenses are. And so before we take anything away, like the needs and wants, just figure out what are the expenses. And then that's the money that's left over. Now that's a key thing because I watched a video earlier this week. And a lot of times what us as ADHDers run into is we get a paycheck, and let's say we get like $1,000 as our paycheck. Again, just hypothetically. Our paycheck is $1,000. So in our mind, we're like, well, we're rolling in dough. We got $1,000 to spend. But we really don't, right? Because you have to pay for groceries. You have to pay for gas. You have to pay for utilities. All those subscriptions that we talk about. All those things cost money, but we don't think about that. Instead, we're like, $1,000, we got it. But also remember, like, there's taxes, all that stuff. We're not even going to get into that. But just thinking like, don't trust what's in your bank account or what's on your paycheck. You're going to start learning to trust a budget. Because then when you have the money that's left over, it's like, okay, so what do we do with that money? Do we save or do we pay? And I guess a third option would be spend, but no, spend would be expenses. Okay, so save or pay. So save for later, whether that's like kids' college fund or your own retirement, or pay down the debts that you owe. That's like the two decisions. And one of Dave Ramsey's big things is like give every dollar an assignment. So you know where every single dollar is going. We met with our financial planner recently, and he told us, like, you guys don't understand, like, the fact that you do a monthly budget is so rare. He says he'll have people who, like, couples that make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they'll like literally not know where like 40 or 50 or $100,000 goes. They're like, I don't know what we spend it on. It's like, how do you not know? But it's because we don't look. And I'm not trying to like call anybody out because I know all of us can be guilty of this. And the other thing is set goals, which obviously comes, along with the baby step, like save $1,000, but it's like, what are we actually trying to get to? So I decided not to go too deep into this whole thing, but you would have to just decide. And if you want, we can schedule a call to talk about it. Are you trying to pay down debt? Are you trying to save? I know some of you mentioned that that's kind of what you were going for. But just think about, so I play basketball a couple times a week. And if I were to go in there and cover my eyes when I play, like, yes, I could throw the basketball up towards the hoop, but my chances of in the basket are going to be drastically reduced if I cannot see the goal, which is what they actually call the basketball hoop, the goal. If I can't see what I'm aiming for. But yet, how many of us, again, I'm saying this with love because it's come from where I have been, how many of us don't know even like what we're shooting for? We're just living in the present moment because that's all we can think is now or not now. And since so many of it is not now, we're like, we don't know how much we owe. Is that making sense? Like, is this resonating? Is this seeming helpful? Okay, cool. All right. Sheila. Yeah, set your budget blindfolded. Got it. Okay, cool. Good. Glad you're okay. So Catton's asking the really good question. So prioritizing the future goals over current wants. Yeah, thought of checking your balance fills me with dread, and I'm going to address that too. Sticking long-term goals and ignoring the day-to-day. Yeah, okay. I thought I deleted that slide, but I guess I didn't. So Catton, this answers your question. Baby step 2 is paying off your debt. The debt snowball. Has anybody heard of the debt snowball? Do you know the concept of the debt snowball? Yeah, don't worry about vicissitudes. Don't even worry about vicissitudes. It's just like there's changes in the market. Okay, cool. So basically, in case anybody is not familiar with the debt snowball, this is crazy. It's so simple. It's one of those things where it's like, I like to say, little hinges swing big doors. So like this little change, I have a fun little visual on this one. Pay off all your debt using the debt snowball. Hold on, but where's my visual? There we go. So when we start, like you can see this little kid, like he packs the snowball first in his hand, but now look how big it is. I'm in snowball. My debt, you found it. That is so funny. So check this out. Let's say, I should have put like an example in here, but I'll talk through it first. So let's say you have 5 debts that you're paying off. Like maybe there's student loan debt and there's car loan and there's credit cards. This is the Dave Ramsey school of thought, and just go with me on this, because some people would say like, okay, out of all 5 debts, I should pay down the highest interest rate first. But Dave says, no, don't do that. And I agree with Dave, and here's why. Line them up from smallest to largest as far as like the amount that's left to be paid. And here's why. Our brains, and this is for anybody, but especially for ADHDers like us, we need to have momentum. So like, all right, let's say if your smallest debt was like, we'll just call it $500 just to like make it simple. Sheila, yes, you can take notes as long as you're paying attention. But yeah, I'm going to send this to you. But yeah, you can take notes, especially because I didn't make a thing of that. Yep. So Pam, this is a good question. So yes, baby step 1 is the $1,000 into the bank, the emergency fund. And here's why. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I should clarify that. And you're going to get all the baby steps, by the way. I have a sheet for you. Spoiler alert. So the reason you do $1,000 first, that gets like locked away in a vault that is only to be used for legit emergencies. And as Dave likes to say, Christmas is not an emergency. It turns out it comes around the same time every year. That's what he says. But like when our Saturn, I started talking about the Saturn, but I kind of forgot to finish the story. When it broke down, because it finally just like totally kicked the bucket, it was leaking oil everywhere. We had money saved up. At this point, fortunately, we were on baby step 3 or 4, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But basically, like we had 3 to 6 months of income saved up in case of emergencies, but that comes down the road. So we were able to, and this is like hard for me to even say, it's like crazy to think about, but we were able to pay for a used minivan, so a 2-year-old minivan, just straight up. We just walked in, we're like, yeah, we'll take that one. I mean, we did our research, whatever, but we found the cheapest one that we could find and with all the stuff we wanted, and that's the one we got. And it wasn't like negotiating about, well, we did negotiate them down a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh, well, would you like to do like 6 months same as cash, or like how big do you want your monthly payment? No, none of that. We were just like, we'll take that one. Here's the check. And it was because we had saved up. So there's going to be smaller things though that you run into, like your washer. We just had a dishwasher that like kicked the buckets, totally dead. We have a refrigerator downstairs that's like on its deathbed. So if and when that goes out, we will have the emergency fund. Whereas if you don't have that and you're just paying off debt and your washer breaks, now you're taking the credit card back out and you're going back into debt. So that's the reason for having the $1,000, so that it is totally the idea, obviously, of like the safety net. Okay, so again, back to the debt example. So there's 5 things. So let's say your first one is 500. That's your smallest one. So you've probably been paying minimum payment on all 5 because like, hey, I'm making progress. Check this out. This is why it's called the debt snowball. You'll get it. Is we reduce the payments to minimum on the 2, 3, 4, and 5. We take any of the extra money from selling stuff, from canceling subscriptions after we've gotten our $1,000. So like any extra that we can scrounge up because we're using that intensity. Life depends on it. Our loved ones are depending on it. They need the vaccine, quote unquote. We take everything we can possibly get and we just aim it right at that $500. Think of how quickly we could put together $500. Like you skip going out to eat a couple of times. Instead of getting expensive coffee, you make your own coffee, you pack your lunches, like all this stuff. And all of a sudden, you pay off that debt. Cool. Now, whatever the minimum payment was on that, let's call it $20. The $20 that was going towards that now adds into the snowball, and you take everything you can scrounge together plus the 20 from debt number 1, and you put it towards debt number 2. And you keep piling onto that, and then you knock out debt number 2, and let's say the minimum payment on that was like $50. So now you have the $20 minimum payment from debt number 1, the $50 minimum payment from debt number 2, plus whatever it is that you can scrounge up for the month, and now that's all going towards debt 3. So do you see how it can build up that speed pretty quickly? So don't let the credit card be the safety net. Correct. Yeah, credit card, not safety, not good safety net. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, don't let the credit card be the safety net, because then if you think about what we talked about before, the average interest rate 16.23%. Like you don't want to be paying extra. You don't want to be paying like I gave that example of the mattress. You don't want to be paying $814 for a $700 mattress. Just pay $700. Is that making sense to everybody? Oh, I forgot about the little animation I did. Okay, cool. All right, so now maybe step 3. And I understand this was like super simplified, but let's be honest, we have ADHD. This is a lot to think about. Oh, you've done it before. Okay, cool. Yeah, and you got to do it again. I like that. You've got to do it again. Okay. My virtual assistant is from Africa. Nancy, she's amazing. So I was like, hey, Nancy, have you heard of the 3 Little Pigs? She's like, what's the 3 Little Pigs, coach? But basically, putting money into savings, because we tend to be which one of these pigs? And in case you're not aware of the story of the 3 Little Pigs, they all build their house, and then the big bad wolf comes and he can huff and puff and blow your house over. So just for time's sake, I'll fast forward and say, typically ADHDers are the straw house, because as soon as something happens, we're using our credit card as a safety net. But if we can even put just $1,000 away, you're starting to have a stronger foundation, and you can have this brick house. I just thought that was kind of a good visual. Hold on, what did I say there? Saving enough, comfortable retirement, leaving a legacy. Okay, yeah, we're not going there. All right, so how do we make this stuff ADHD friendly, though? That's the key. Automate. Think of how easy it is for us. I mean, Pam put it perfectly earlier, talking about how her browsers have her credit card saved, right? What if we could do the same thing for our bills? So before Andrea started helping me, I was trying to write checks for everything, and we would be late on payments sometimes. Then we started automating our payments, and it just takes care of itself. The key for us, and this sounds like obvious, but doing as little thinking as possible. And I'm serious. Like, if we have to remember to it's on this day of the month that I have to pay that one bill from that one place, like, what are the chances we're actually going to do that? Probably pretty slim. But if we can automate as much as possible, we're going to just increase our chances to be successful. Another way to automate, though, is, and you can call your bank and do this, have them set up your account so that when it gets direct deposited, it can actually move some of that money directly into savings automatically. You don't even touch it. It's kind of like if, like you've heard about, like put money towards Roth IRA and all that stuff. We're not even going to get into that today, but automate as much as you can. That's the simplest way to say it. So that's kind of what I was getting at, like set it and forget it. I just said that. Yeah. Paying yourself first and automating that. That's another way to say what I just said. Okay, wow, I knew my script. That was good. Yeah, auto loans and credit card loans and all that. So I decided to sort of skip over a lot of my story, but it was basically when I got out of college, there were several years where I was going paycheck to paycheck. And I thought I'm just always going to be in debt. Like that's like growing up, that's just how I thought it was. Like you have a car payment, you have credit card payments, that's how it is. And the only way that I would know that I had reached my spending limit was when I would start getting envelopes in the mail from the bank saying that I had overdrafted again. And literally I did that every single month because, to Pam's point earlier, I was afraid to look at my bank account. I just like didn't even want to face the truth. And that's why I put that picture in there from the movie A Few Good Men. That's kind of a famous line where he says, "You can't handle the truth." Well, it's like we don't think we can, but we have to. If we want to get on top of this, we have to be able to handle the truth. And if you need to, set reminders or do whatever you can. Getting a financial planner. This was something that Andrea was very resistant to because just as I like to spend, she's a neurotypical, does not like to spend money. And I was really tired of having to go through like financial documents. I'm like, Andrea, I have no idea what any of this means. And it's actually really agitating to me. And same thing with an accountant. Like for a while we were doing our own taxes on like an H&R Block software. Like I was like, I'm so done with this. Like the time we're spending on this, we could be trying to find other ways to make money. So don't be afraid to ask for help on the things that you don't do well. For those of you who are in a relationship or are married, so important to have a joint account. And again, you do what's best for you, but there are so many horror stories that I have heard about one member of the relationship, making choices and not asking the other person, not running it by them. And like all of a sudden it's like, yeah, by the way, I've had a gambling problem or something like that. So the monthly budget. So here's our budget folder. One thing that has been a just like non-negotiable every single month for the last 10 years, which is like so weird to even say. Andrea and I, it's even more than that now. I think it's almost 15 years. We have done a monthly budget meeting. We sit down, we put our devices away, well, except when we have to look at our accounts. But like no TVs on, no distractions, no children, no texting, no nothing. We do our budget committee meeting to like look at our finances. And I know that this, yeah, I'm sending all this stuff to you. I actually created a specific one for you, Sheila. Not for you, but for everyone. An ADHD friendly one. So talk about like, what are we trying to do? Like, are we sending our kids to public school, private school? Are we trying to go on a vacation? Like you can plan for this stuff. Doing these things, hire an accountant or a financial planner. One thing I wanted to do but did not do in time for this was to get an account on Mint. This is something where it will literally tell you everything that you spend your money on. So this is something that I am going to do. There was a login issue and it stopped me. So you all can hold me accountable if you want. But this is something that I think will be so, okay, Damon did, good. I told Damon to, and then I didn't do it. But honestly, it can be so powerful because now you can open an app on your phone and it tells you exactly what you spent money on and how much is left in your accounts. And it's free. It is totally free. So this was a virtual assistant. I put that in there because Nancy has helped me to do so much, including put together most of this presentation. And setting a spending limit. Because honestly, like if we will keep spending. Our brains we want that dopamine. So this is the part for question and answer. I meant to put that in here, but this is kind of cool. So here, let me stop sharing just for a second. There is the opportunity where you can, it's called grab the mic. So I think at this point, if you want to, you could ask a question. I think, let's see. Yeah. How do you find a good financial planner? And if anybody wants to come onto camera and ask, I know some of you may not want to, but if you can, you can. Okay, so Catton says that Mint poses some security concerns. They've had a data breach. Fair. I listened to 3 different reviews of it. They all talked about the good security of it because it's run by Intuit, which does TurboTax. So I had not heard of the data breach. There's another one out there that's called Direct. I've not done any research on that, but it was on a video that was for ADHD money management. And then Damon talked about YNAB. I know that before somebody mentioned using that, but going away from it. You need a budget is what it stands for. I'm actually going to be sending you a form, a printable PDF that you can use. So you'll all have that. YNAB is not free though, so just FYI. Okay, so how many? All right, so here we go. How do you find a good financial planner? I would say you ask around. There's a lot of them out there, but I would say like it's better to get one than not have one at all. Even if they're not the greatest one. So I have one who I went to college with. He does amazing. So I'm happy to give out his info if anybody wants. And then, how do you sell a car? Okay, hold on. Let's see. How do you sell your car that is too much money? Pam, I guess I need to learn more about that. You could check out Kelley Blue Book, and then personally, if you own the car, you could trade it in for a used one. Yep, Melissa's exactly right. Yeah, so what we ended up doing, and actually this is perfect. So with that, I told you about the 2007 Saturn Aura. You can literally go to like kellybluebook.com. You can put in the VIN number of your exact vehicle, and it can tell you the approximate value of it. Our car was worth an estimated like $400 to $500. That's how like beaten up it was. But we ended up getting $500 for it, and so they just credited that towards the purchase of our new but used minivan, and that was super helpful. So that would be how you would sell it. You can check out Kelley Blue. Yep. Okay. Sorry, I phrased that poorly. Okay, great. What other questions do people have? I want to make this for you. I'm gonna go back to sharing the screen, but I was just seeing if anybody wanted to grab the mic. Yep, no apologies. Yep, you're right. Okay. Because I'm going to show you just like the resources that I'm going to provide, but I wanted to give everybody the chance to ask questions if they have them. All right, cool. I would love to know, honestly, like what are your takeaways from the event? Just because I want to see what is valuable, what is not. And right now I cannot see anybody because I'm clicking on the wrong thing, I guess. Hold on. Come on. Here we go. Just do the budget. Yeah, and then also, okay, having accountability is another huge part. So like me having Andrea, that is a huge help for me. Oh yeah, the abundance mindset raffle. Okay, cool. So I was basing this off of having 50 people, you had a 1 in 10 chance of winning, but now you have an even higher chance. But what I would ask is that in order to redeem your prize, you must fill out a survey about how the event went. So I will basically, I think a ton of you are going to get something here. So let's see. How did you confront anxiety about your debt and finally decide to do something? Yeah. Okay, cool. This is really good. And then Kelly says, challenging when you don't have a partner. And then Catton says, honestly, I can't see how to start. Okay, this is awesome. Okay. So we'll just start from the top. So Catton, I can't see how to start. So what I will do is I am going to send all of you the materials from this. It's going to have a budget that you can fill in, including, and you can start so simple of, and again, I make this super simple here. I'm just going to show all of you what it looks like. Is everyone seeing my Google Drive right now? Or are you seeing? Oh no, you're not. You're seeing. Okay, hold on. Got it. Let me open it and then I'll show you. So this is pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of this. And again, my virtual assistant Nancy helped me with this. She is amazing. Here we go. Window. Here we go. Share. Cool. All right, so check this out. Need versus want. So it's literally just this simple. What is the item? What is the price? Is it one time? So like if you bought whatever, something on Amazon, like that's obviously a one time unless you set up a subscription. And then a need or a want, and then you get to make the call. Is it worth it? So, Kat, and this is where I would say this is where you start. Because then you look at the price and then you go down and you see, and here, you know what I'll do before I send it out? I thought that I had a total thing down here, but we'll put like, what is the total? So you can actually see, like, hey, this is how much money I spent on stuff that, and you could even tally it as like the needs are this, the wants are this. And then you can decide, is it worth it or not? And that's totally up to you. So then cash flow summary. I kept it super simple. Don't even worry about this. So this is just what's the income? So like, all right, you get paid 3 times. You put those in right here. 1, 2, 3. Paycheck, $1,000. And then, whoops. And then this is the one I'm most proud about. So this is, I don't want to call it a budget. Instead, I call it the monthly money momentum plan. Check it out. Charity. So these are the same categories that Dave has on his budget, which is what we use. But it's charity, savings, housing, utilities, insurance. And this is for all your expenses: recreation, food, clothing, transportation, medical health, and then there's debts, personal, whatever. And then you tally it all up. So you fill these things out, and it's going to give you a better idea of like where, what to start on, honestly. Okay, and then I want to answer these other questions because I want to make sure I keep my promise because I said I would be done. I'm happy to stay over. I just want to make sure that you can choose to stay and I'm not keeping everybody. All right, and again, I'm going to send all those to you. Sorry, I keep double clicking, but it's not a double click thing. Come on. What are you doing? Okay, come on. I put, what? Follow through? So I'm going to send you the baby steps. There's actually this site I found called Renify. Again, I'll send you a link to it, but it's ADHD specific, friendly, like ADHD advice, financial advice rather, and then the downloadable resources. All right, so there's a couple questions. So like Kelly says, challenging when you don't have a partner. This is where the accountability comes in. And this is where having either a coach or a friend or someone who cares about you, but is not going to like nag you about it, but is going to hold you accountable for it. That's why it's so important to get, because we need accountability. So like I can tell you just full honesty and authenticity. I would not do the monthly budget if Andrea wasn't like, okay, when are we doing the budget? And I'm like, even after 15 years and being able to like, these steps pulled me out of debt. I still don't like looking at the numbers, but it's exactly what I know I need to do. So we do it because she holds me accountable. So finding someone who you can partner up with. Okay. So Allie says the honest assessment of wants and needs was the valuable thing for her. And I appreciate that because I agree. Like, I think a lot of times we just lump it all together as like, well, yeah, like it's just part of life, like Netflix, part of life. Um, Going out to dinner, 6 times a month, whatever it is. But there's a lot of stuff that I think we do that we don't really think about. Even like, hey, where do you get your coffee? How often are you picking up fast food? Like these different things that they don't seem like a lot at the time, but then when you like add them up, it's, oh, wow, that is actually a lot. So then Melissa said, how do you confront your anxiety about your debt and finally decide to do something? So Melissa, at the beginning, I had put up that slide with the quote from Albert Einstein about the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. The reason you confront it is because if you don't, nothing's going to change. In other words, like we are going to end up being part of this statistic of the Americans where it's between 70 and 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And if we lose employment, which those of us with ADHD have a tendency to do, said by a guy who's been fired twice for ADHD, it's so important to get that emergency fund in place and get out of debt so that we're not like so dependent. Think about how cool it would be if money wasn't a problem anymore, where we could use our imagination and say, like, if your debt was gone, what would you do? And I meant to ask this at the beginning, but I literally forgot, and I think I ran out of time. But think about how much less stress there would be if money was not something that contributed to that stress. Like the fact that we had money saved up for, we knew we were going to get a new minivan, a used minivan, but like when the time came, we just did it and it was just neutral. We didn't have to be, oh my God, what are we going to do? We have to borrow money. We're going to take out a loan. We have to use credit cards. We didn't have to worry about it. That's how we decide to face it. Melissa, does that help? Hey, and this is what I love. Sheila came up with what I was kind of thinking about is if you're open for it, Kelly, I obviously have your email. I can connect you and Sheila, and you can hold each other accountable. And Damon, what is the you sent a link? What is that? All right, cool. Kat wants in on the action. Cool. And the other thing too I want to offer to everyone is you can set up a call with me, and this can be something with ADHD coaching that you can work on too. Is just that can be our main goal. We talk about budget. All right, so it is 1 minute till we finish. I want to thank everybody for coming today. And, Dean Graziosi, cool. And I want to raffle off some prizes. So there's a few of you here. I'm trying to see how many people are like actively here right now. Let me look to see. Okay, cool. We've got a few people. Okay. Tim is kind of here. Oh, Dominic's been here? I didn't even know he was here. Okay, Allie's here. Pam is here. Janae's still here. All right, cool. So what I want to do is do this raffle. And what you didn't know is that before I was looking for, I asked for people's takeaways. Yeah, thank you. Kelly's here. So I want to raffle off a couple of these things. So I'm raffling off two free months of FocusMate. FocusMate is something where you can book calls for accountability with a virtual partner. So basically, those of you who are here, I know who you are. I will send a message to you again, just out of respect for time. The other prizes are 3 free months of one-on-one coaching with me. And then I have 2 free months of group coaching. So I'll follow up with you because I'm basically going to take all the names, put them in a hat, pull them out. I kind of forgot to plan for that part, to be totally honest with you. But yeah, I can help to connect all of you. You can keep each other accountable. And we hit the time. So you're welcome, Kelly. Does anybody else have other questions? I'm going to be following up. Again, I'm going to be sending you all of the resources. I'll send you the slides for today too. But does anybody else have other questions, comments, feedback? So Kat asked, do I do these monthly? For a while I was doing it. I'm going to be doing them quarterly. And that, you know what, that's a great point. I forgot to announce. You can mark your calendars. February is going to be our next one. I'm going to create a discount code for all of you, anybody who is here. So I'll give you a discount code for half off of the next webinar if you were here today. So I hope you can join us. It's going to be in February, and I thought kind of a funny, very appropriate ADHD thing to have would be goal setting. Well, why would we do it in February? Well, because let's be honest, by February, we're already going to have fallen off the wagon probably with our New Year's resolution. So I thought that'd be kind of a fun thing for us to do. Not me, says Damon. Good, Damon. That's good. Prove it. That's awesome. All right, cool. Well, thank you to everyone for being here, for signing up. I hope that you found this helpful and that you got a return on the investment of your time. And I am looking forward to staying engaged with all of you. You're welcome, Kristen. You are welcome, Pam. Welcome, everybody, for sure. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. And I'm going to play it out. I'm going to play out the music for anybody who's still here because it's kind of fun. Music outro.